Tom Ford suits are made by Ermenegildo Zegna. Last month, I watched a man pay $4,200 for one without knowing it. I was standing in a men's department on the third floor of a department store I won't name. The man stood at the Tom Ford counter, holding up a navy 2-button. The sales associate told him it was made in Italy by Italian craftsmen with Italian construction. The man asked one more question, whether it was full canvas. The associate said yes. Then the man pulled out a card and paid $4,200. He left holding a suit that, according to public corporate filings, was manufactured by a different brand on a different label entirely. Not made by Tom Ford, not designed for Tom Ford. Constructed by Ermenegildo Zegna under a long-term licensing agreement signed in 2006, expanded in 2023, and confirmed in the Securities and Exchange Commission filings tied to a $2.8 billion acquisition. Same factory, same tailors, different label, different price. That moment wasn't unusual. It happens in luxury menswear stores every hour of every day. The men's suit market is one of the most heavily branded categories in retail, and the gap between the brand on the label and the factory floor where the garment's sewn is bigger than most buyers realize, sometimes much bigger. Start with the brand that built its reputation on German engineering. Hugo Boss is publicly traded on the Frankfurt MDAX. According to the company's own corporate disclosures, the group runs 4 owned production facilities in Izmir in Turkey, Metzingen in Germany, Radom in Poland, and Moroval in Italy. The largest of those, by a significant margin, is Izmir. Roughly 20% of Hugo Boss products in total come from those owned factories. The other 80% comes from third-party suppliers spread across the world. Specific suits have been documented as made in Bulgaria. Construction is where the receipt arrives. In the core Boss Black label, retailing in the $800 to $1,500 range, the jacket is fused. That means the interior structure is glued, not stitched. The chest piece, the lapel, and the front panel are bonded together with a thermoplastic adhesive rather than canvassed by hand. Fused construction is faster, cheaper, and lasts roughly half as long. After 10 years and a few too many dry cleanings, a fused jacket starts to bubble where the adhesive lets go. There is no fix. The jacket is finished. For context on the construction spectrum, between fused and full canvas sits half canvas construction, where the chest and lapel are canvassed by hand, but the lower front panels are fused. Brands like Canali use half canvas in much of their mid-range production, suits that retail in the $1,200 to $1,800 range. It is a meaningful middle tier that most salespeople will not volunteer. Hugo Boss does produce a fully canvassed suit. They make about 1,500 of them per year as part of a select line, plus made-to-order suits at the top of the range. Those are not the suits stocked on the floor. The suit a man buys when he walks into a Hugo Boss store on a Saturday is, with overwhelming probability, a fused garment sewn in Izmir. The retail price tells you what the brand is selling. The construction tells you what the factory built. The gap between them is the design. Brioni is a different conversation. The brand was founded in Rome in 1945. Its production facility in Penne in the Abruzzo region of Italy has been operating since 1959. Brioni runs its own tailoring school, the Scuola di Alta Sartoria, founded in 1985 because the company could not find enough qualified master tailors to staff its own production line. The school produces tailors who go on to make Brioni garments. That is unusual. That is real. According to Brioni's own published process, each suit requires up to 220 individual production steps. Each jacket goes through 80 separate phases of ironing. A single jacket contains roughly 5,000 hand-sewn stitches, the majority of which are not visible from the outside. Hand-sewn major seams, hand-sewn shoulders, hand-sewn canvas. The canvas is full. The work takes roughly 22 hours per suit. By way of comparison, Chiton and Cesare Ottolini, the Neapolitan houses operating in the tier above Brioni in terms of bespoke and made-to-measure volume, run comparable handwork hour counts, but push further into soft construction and rope shoulders. They represent the Neapolitan ceiling of the category Brioni is competing in. Savile Row bespoke houses in London, Anderson and Shepherd, Huntsman, DJ and Skinner operate on an entirely different timeline, with single garments taking months rather than days. Ready to wear. Brioni jackets start around $3,000. Suits start at around $3,500 and climb past $6,000. Made-to-measure pushes into the $10,000 to $17,000 range, and bespoke can reach $50,000 for exotic fabrics like vicuna. If you want a rough metric, at roughly 22 hours of skilled handwork per suit, a $5,000 Brioni represents approximately $227 per hour of that labor before you factor in Kering's margin and retail overhead. Skilled handwork matters. Brioni is owned by Kering, the French luxury conglomerate that also controls Gucci, Saint Laurent, Bottega Veneta, and Balenciaga. Kering's ownership adds a layer of corporate marketing tax onto every suit. But the production has not been hollowed out. The factory still exists in Penne, the tailors still exist, the handwork still happens. Penne remains active. When a man pays $5,000 for a Brioni suit, he is paying for marketing, for retail real estate, for Kering's margin, and for roughly 22 hours of skilled handwork by an actual tailor in an actual Italian town. Of the four brands in this comparison, Brioni is the one where the price tag and the construction sheet are pointing at the same garment. Ermenegildo Zegna is the structural anchor of Italian luxury menswear. The company is publicly listed on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker ZGN. In 2024, the group reported revenues of €1.95 billion and employed more than 7,100 people. Its primary production facility, the Lanificio Zegna in Trevero, has been operating since 1910. The structural fact that matters is vertical integration. Zegna grows or sources the raw wool, mills it into fabric at the Lanificio, cuts the fabric, sews the suits, and ships them to its own retail stores. The company controls what it calls the Filiera, a chain of owned Italian textile producers and luxury manufacturing capabilities, all under one corporate roof. That milling operation in Trevero produces fabrics graded at Super 120s, Super 150s, and above, the industry-standard wool grading system, where higher numbers indicate finer fiber diameter and greater softness. Loro Piana, now owned by LVMH, operates a comparable vertical model in Corona and is Zegna's primary peer in the luxury wool fabric supply chain. According to the group's own disclosures, Zegna is the largest producer of luxury menswear fabrics in the world. Ready-to-wear Zegna suits typically retail above €2,000. The Su Misura made-to-measure program pushes into the $4,000 to $6,000 range. Every suit is full canvas. The handwork is real. But here's the part most luxury menswear buyers do not know. Zegna produces more than its own brand. The group also owns 85% of Thom Browne, acquired in 2018 for $500 million. And this is the critical fact. Zegna has been the contracted manufacturer for Tom Ford menswear since 2006. Not a supplier. The manufacturer. The factory. Industry data on luxury menswear pricing is unusually consistent. Production costs, meaning the actual cost to manufacture a garment including the factory's profit margin, typically run between 25% and 30% of retail price. That figure comes from Permanent Styles' analysis of luxury margin data and is corroborated by published apparel industry pricing standards. In practical terms, on a $4,000 luxury suit, the actual manufacturing cost, including the factory's own profit, sits at roughly $1,200. The remaining $2,800 goes to advertising, retail store leases, sales staff commissions, executive compensation, brand marketing, runway shows, and corporate operating margin. Luxury brand markups range from 3 times production cost at the conservative end to 10 times or more at the aggressive end. Some heritage luxury brands quietly exceed 20 times. The markup is not a function of how well the suit is constructed. The markup is a function of how famous the label is. This is the structure. Construction is one cost line. Brand cachet is a different cost line. The man buying a suit is paying for both, but he is told he is paying for one. So here is your situation when you walk into a luxury menswear store in 2026. You are looking at a wall of labels with retail prices ranging from $800 to $12,000. The labels are designed to feel like distinct origin stories. German engineering here, Roman tailoring there, American glamour over there, Italian heritage in the corner. The receipts say something different. Some of those labels are stitched in Turkey under glued chest pieces. Others are hand-sewn by tailors trained in a school founded specifically to keep the craft alive. A few are made by their own vertically integrated factory in an alpine wool mill weaving Super 150s fabric, and at least one, the most expensive one on the wall, is made by a different brand on the same wall. Which brings us to Tom Ford. Tom Ford, the brand, was founded by Tom Ford, the designer, in 2005 after his decade-long run as creative director at Gucci with his business partner Domenico De Sole. In November of 2022, Estée Lauder Companies, the cosmetics and fragrance conglomerate behind brands like Clinique, MAC, La Mer, and Aveda, announced a deal to acquire the Tom Ford brand for $2.8 billion. The acquisition closed in April of 2023. Estée Lauder paid out roughly $2.3 billion net after a $250 million contribution from Marcolin, the eyewear licensee. It was Estée Lauder's first ever fashion acquisition. Tom Ford himself exited the company. Peter Hawkins, a longtime Ford lieutenant, took over as creative director. In the same transaction, Zegna Group's existing license for Tom Ford menswear, which Zegna had held since 2006, was expanded into a long-term agreement covering all Tom Ford fashion, menswear, women's wear, accessories, underwear, fine jewelry, children's wear, and home design. The deal runs for a minimum of 20 years from 2023, with automatic 10-year renewals subject to performance conditions. Zegna acquired Tom Ford International, the entity that operates the fashion business. Estée Lauder retained the brand, the trademarks, and the intellectual property. Zegna retained the factory. The Tom Ford suit on the rack in a luxury department store is manufactured by Zegna Group, primarily through Zegna's vertically integrated Italian filiera supply chain. The fabric was most likely woven at the Lanificio in Trevero, likely in Super 120s or Super 150s wool. The garment was most likely cut and sewn in Zegna's own production network. The construction is full canvas, because Zegna does not make fused suits at this price point. A Zegna ready-to-wear suit, sold under the Zegna label, retails around €2,000 to €2,500, roughly $2,200 to $2,700 in current exchange rates. The equivalent Tom Ford ready-to-wear suit with substantially similar construction from substantially the same supply chain retails between $3,000 and $5,000 in the United States, depending on fabric and model. The difference is the label. The premium for the Tom Ford label on a Zegna-made garment is roughly $1,000 to $2,500 per suit. That man on the third floor of the department store I won't name, the one who paid $4,200 for the Navy 2 button, wasn't lied to exactly. The associate told him the suit was made in Italy. It was. The associate told him it was full canvas. It is. The associate did not mention, because she did not have to, that the company stitching the canvas had a different name on its New York Stock Exchange filings than the name stitched into the inner pocket of the jacket he was buying. The receipt for the charge of $4,200 does not say Zegna anywhere. The receipt says Tom Ford. The jacket says Tom Ford. The hanger said Tom Ford. The factory was Zegna. He took the bag, he walked toward the escalator, and he disappeared into the crowd of men leaving the third floor with bags that all looked the same.